Howdy folks, I'm Wild Weather, wickedly whisking away wombats.
I'm Amber.
And here are more wombats for us to whisk away. That's what happens when you are wild weather. So let's get started on that. Oh, and folks, there's a live stream coming up on tomorrow at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. We hope to see you then. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Go Back to My Old Company After They Fired Me and Begged Me to Return When Things Broke? Am I the jerk for not going back to help my old company after they fired me? Throw away because I don't want this tied to my main. So I'm a 29-year-old male and I was working as a back-end engineer at this company for a few years. Nothing ridiculous title-wise, but I ended up being the person who knew a lot about the system just because I'd been there for a while and kept getting pulled into fixing things. Well, the code base was already kind of messy when I joined, and over time it just grew. I did my best to try and document things here and there, but honestly, it was just always rushed and management didn't really care as long as things were working and deadlines were met. Well, anyways, we got a new manager a little while back and we really didn't click. He kept saying that I was making things too complicated and pushed back on some timelines, which he didn't like. After a couple of awkward meetings, I was let go. Not a culture fit was the reason. It was bad, but I had some savings, so I figured that I would just chill out for a bit before finding something else. Well, about a week later, one of my old coworkers messaged me asking about some service, and I was like, I don't work there anymore. Then I started hearing more stuff is breaking. Not like everything all at once, but enough that they were having a bad time. Then my old manager calls me out of nowhere, completely different tone now, asking if I can come in as a contractor and help stabilize things. I asked what happened and he basically said that they're struggling to keep things running. Here's the part where I might be the jerk. I said no. He kept pushing and saying that the team needs me and stuff, and also said since I built a lot of it, I should help fix it, which kind of annoyed me because I had brought up a lack of documentation / single points of failure before and was always brushed off. He did offer me more money later, but I don't know, it just felt weird going back to the same situation that got me burned out, especially after being fired. Some of my old coworkers think that I should at least help short term because they're the ones dealing with it now, which I do feel kind of bad about. Others say, not my problem. I didn't intentionally hoard knowledge or anything, it just sort of ended up being that way over time. Am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think?
I wouldn't say OP is the jerk, and if you don't feel right going back there, that's totally on you. But you may be missing out on a financial opportunity here, because contractors can make some good money. So if you could negotiate a good rate, it might be worth it.
Yeah, I mean, OP is citing that they don't want to be burnt out. Then, I mean, I think that's a very fair and reasonable point of view, right? But they can say, look, I'll be hired back, for X number of hours a week. It could be like 30 hours a week. It could be 20 hours a week. And they can say, that's all I'm going to work, but you're going to pay me at X dollar an hour type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then that way they don't have to worry as much about getting burnt out. They don't have to have the guilty conscience of, letting this company flounder. But then they can also just, turn off at the end of the day when they want to, right? They can work a couple days a week and be like, I'm done.
And worst case scenario, because you can ask for what you want. Worst case scenario, they just don't give it to you and you don't have to work there.
So if OP really doesn't want to work there, then they can just make it as outrageous as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But, making reasonable requests like, oh, I just want to work 20 hours a week and you guys can figure out how to prioritize things from there. And, making the same amount of money that they were making at, 40 hours a week, it would probably be pretty desirable in some respects, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Using My Sisters as Child Labor? Hi, throwaway, because this is so different from what I post on my main. So I'm a 28-year-old female, an accident baby. My parents were 16 and 17 when they had me. My mom never was really very motherly. She went back to high school the week after I was born and pretty much never looked back. She runs her own business now, which makes her too busy to spend time with us. So I was mostly raised by my maternal grandparents, with my dad taking me every weekend and for pretty much every break. My dad had other kids and raised me with them like normal siblings. But my mom got married and then divorced when she was in her 30s and gave me two sisters much later in life, a 5-year-old female and a 9-year-old female. I'm going to call the 9-year-old Julia and the 5-year-old Allie. Well, my mom never really changed much from when I was a kid, except the fact that my grandparents are older now, so they can't handle looking after the kids like I can. Plus, Julia has ADHD, which makes her really struggle with rules and stuff. Doesn't mix well with the fact that my family are Asian, and my grandparents strongly believe that kids should do what they're told without any question. You cannot get Julia to do anything she doesn't want to, so my grandma loses her mind if she's left with Julia for too long. My grandpa doesn't do much other than cook around the house, so he just sits on his chair and tells the kids to stop being loud. Allie has some intolerances that my grandparents don't really understand, so they're not much help with her either. The girl's dad went back to his home in Canada after the divorce and only sees them when someone drops them off in Ontario. All of this is to say that there aren't many options when it comes to who can actually significantly raise my sisters. Mom lives with the grandparents, but she doesn't do much to help with them. Surprise, surprise, she didn't get more motherly with age, especially now that their dad has left. So, when I got married to Nathan, a 29-year-old male, 2 years ago, my grandparents begged us to move back in with them. The deal was pretty sweet. I would help out with the little ones, and we don't have to pay rent or anything. Nathan loves our culture's food and thinks that she's hilarious. Plus, he knows that I would never expect him to take on the responsibility, and I handle my own family, so it was a pretty sweet deal for him too. Plus, we got our own bathroom and stuff like that. Well, the thing is, the moment I moved back in, I noticed that the kids are either like freaking zombies or they're being wild. They watch YouTube shorts for hours, and when the TV comes off, they're bored immediately. They eat what they want, when they want. Allie has constant tummy aches and rotten baby teeth. Julia is struggling in school because her impulsivity and meltdowns mean that the kids find her too overwhelming to be around, and she doesn't read very well. One of the jobs I have is school adjacent. I'm a PhD student at the moment and AITA students. But I also run extracurricular workshops for usually middle school or high school kids on the side to help them with communication and writing. So I'm no expert, but I know a thing or two about educating kids. I'm also ADHD too, so I know a little about what Julia's going through. I'm horrified, right? So I start a whole program to get these kids to touch some freaking grass. Well, since I started living here, I started making the kids eat at the dinner table. We have screen-free hours, and I also give them each $30 every break to spend in a bookstore how they want to get them to read. Julia has friends in school now after I worked with the school, and Allie doesn't get tummy aches as often anymore. I think that I'm doing a pretty good job. Well, the problem is that for my workshops, I often recruit the girls to help me with prep, cutting the resources, putting together boxes, etc. We usually create a kind of factory line where Allie cuts the paper, I laminate, and then Julia cuts around the laminated cards. I don't force them though. I do get them to do chores around the house to help with my grandma. I'm trying to find ways to distract them that don't include watching stuff on TV. My mom doesn't want them playing any video games, even when I brought my own old PS3 with no Wi-Fi to teach them how to play Minecraft. She even said no to me, saying that I'd fish out the old GameCube and teach them Double Dash. I think that it's better than letting them rot in front of YouTube shorts, but fine. I'm not the mom, right? So we do other stuff. Then mom's new boyfriend, Joe, comes over and sees that I'm teaching Julia how to do some comb binding, that we can create workbooks with those bindings for some high school kids that I'm working with next week. He accuses me of exploiting the kids for my own side business. Julia says that she likes doing chores, but Joe says, "That's so sad. You've really got them thinking that they're doing chores." He accused me of running a sweatshop and said that if they don't get a cut of this business, then I'm just treating them like slaves. I was shocked, and I didn't say much, to be honest. Mom told Julia to go watch TV, and I just kept binding the things with my face getting red. When Joe left, I told Mom that I thought that he was being ridiculous and that the girls are having fun. Mom said that he has a point and that I should stop exploiting the girls for child labor. She says that she always thought that it was weird that I couldn't do the stuff on my own. I kind of just want to leave now. It's not like there are going to be many jobs in academia right now, given the current political climate. I'm surprised that I still have my funding. And if I'm not wanted here, then I might as well make my way to Canada, like the girl's deadbeat dad, or somewhere in Europe. Nathan is pretty happy to go with if I wanted to because he works remotely. But then I think about my grandparents and the poor girls, how much their quality of life will be like if we left. Now I'm thinking that I'm the jerk here because I am making a profit off of this business, so maybe I shouldn't be using them like that. I mean, it was always supposed to be fun. I can do these things by myself, and it probably would be faster if I did, but they seemed curious the first time that they saw me do it, so I asked them if they wanted to join. But maybe it's just because they don't know any better and that I'm exploiting them. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. OP, you are the only one who is parenting these children. Now, first of all, you may not be directly giving them a cut of the business, but you're giving them $30 a week to buy books.
Oh, I think every break,
Oh,
so
every
I don't
break?
know what that means exactly.
Well, you're giving them money to buy books, and they're doing it voluntarily. Like, it doesn't matter if you were like conscripting them to work, it would be a little dodgier. Like, yeah, kids should have to do chores around the house, but like working for your business is another matter. But the fact that they are doing it voluntarily and having a good time doing that, that's a good thing. You know, you're teaching them new skills. They are learning to do some work. Like, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. Your mom's boyfriend is just a garbage human being.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Joe needs to butt out, and I think that OP can talk to their mom and say, "Listen, I don't want Joe, telling me what to do. I'm taking care of these kids, and I'm being a role model to them." I mean, OP's in a tough situation here, but the grandparents really want OP there, and it sounds like OP is happy, other than this, one situation that has come up now. And if OP has a guilty conscience about, the girls not getting quote unquote paid for the labor that they're doing, then OP can put money aside for them into a bank account, right? Like if OP is, earning some amount of money, then they can put money aside or even, buy them more books or something like that, right? But the girls don't seem to care. And so I think that OP is teaching them good skills. They're enriching them. They are, giving them discipline and stuff like that, which is something that they severely have lacked up until the point that OP has moved back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that OP is being a net positive, and it's unfortunate that the mom can't recognize that their kids are doing better. They're thriving now that OP is there.
Yeah. And it might be worth having a conversation with the grandparents about this because the mom is not the mom's a lost cause here. Like she's not doing any parenting whatsoever.
Yeah.
But have a talk with your grandparents, let them know how you're feeling, and maybe they can talk to your mom.
Yeah, I mean, I think the grandparents would be able to, pressure the mom into letting OP have essentially free reign over taking their care of the kids, because I think the grandma knows that OP has the patience to deal with them and is doing a good job with them. Now, if OP were actually neglecting them or, abusing them or any number of things, I would think that, or exploiting them, I think that OP would be in the wrong. But I don't see that here. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Punish My Teenage Daughter After Discovering That She's Learning Japanese Primarily to Impress a Teenage Boy? This may or may not sound less weird with some backstory. Pseudonyms are used. My husband, Timothy, a 44-year-old male, and I, a 44-year-old female, are white Americans. Our only child is adopted. Our daughter, Naomi, a 15-year-old female, was born in Japan, and we adopted her when she was months old. Growing up in California, she's only learned English as a young child. Before January of this year, Naomi was uninterested in learning anything about Japan. But in January, she told my husband and I that she wanted to learn Japanese. My husband and I never thought to ask why she wanted to learn Japanese, because we thought we knew. A girl of pure Japanese ancestry who was born in Japan wanting to learn Japanese obviously seems like she just wants to learn about her background. Not only has she been learning the language, but she has also been learning about Japan. She's dressing and making her hair more Japanese. Her clothes are now far more modest than her peers, and my husband and I thought that this was a natural change. Well, this weekend, Naomi was telling Timothy something. She stopped talking when I walked into the room. Timothy, with a genuine smile, told Naomi to tell me. Naomi started talking about a boy that she likes, Chad, a 14-year-old male. As Naomi was explaining things, I could see that Timothy was getting upset, but trying to look happy for Naomi's sake. Well, Chad is a white American boy, and yes, it's important for me to state that. He has transferred to my daughter's high school over Christmas break. He is in her class. Chad is fluent in both English and Japanese. According to Naomi, Chad's last girlfriend was a Japanese girl who was visiting America. Naomi didn't exactly tell us that her change was to impress Chad, but she basically gave a 90% confirmation that this is her primary motivation. When my husband and I got alone, he expressed his disappointment. He said that he can't believe his daughter is making herself a caricature to impress some boy. My blonde husband calls Chad Blondie in a derogatory way. My husband suggested that I punish Naomi by forbidding her from friends or anything else with Chad. I'm the disciplinarian. I said no. I said that while I'm also disappointed that this is her motivation, she's not doing anything harmful. Learning a language, learning history, wearing modest clothing isn't a bad thing. My husband is deeply shocked that I'm not bringing down the hammer on this topic. He said that he never thought that he would be so disappointed in my skills as a mother. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. I mean, of all the things that a kid could do to impress a potential romantic partner, like learning a language is going to be a net positive for her. Whether or not she ends up using it to woo Chad, it doesn't matter. But I'm very concerned about the dynamics here between OP and her husband, and why is OP the disciplinarian? Like, he is going on, I'm disappointed in your parenting skills. I'm disappointed in your parenting skills, dude. Like, one, you're freaking out because your daughter is learning a language. It may not be for the reasons you want her to, but it's still a good skill to have. And two, you expect your wife to be the bad guy all the time so you can just be the fun dad?
That's what it sounds like. I mean, it seems like he's just trying to be the fun dad and he expects OP to do all the hard parenting stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a teenager who has a crush. She's not going to marry Chad next week or anything like that because of, this whole situation. She has a crush. She's learning something new. I mean, a lot of people will pursue hobbies to pursue a crush. And like, whether or not that's right or wrong, it doesn't matter, right? It's her life. She can do what she wants. And I think that OP and their husband need to be there for her and be safe people and allies to her so that she has somebody to confide in when things get rough, right? If they, start punishing her for these kinds of things, then do you think that she's actually going to come to them with other crushes or anything like that? No, she's just never going to tell OP or their husband anything ever again. So I think that they would be making a horrible mistake by punishing her for this, or even bringing up that they're disappointed in her for doing this, because I think all that's going to do is push her further away, and that's not very great. I mean, I do get concerned that Chad is like fetishizing this culture.
Yeah.
But that is unfortunately something that OP and their husband has no control over. But if that's a concern they have, then they could have an age-appropriate conversation with their daughter about that too, right? But that is, again, like a difficult, very touchy subject. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. But folks, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. Saint, but misunderstood.
I mean, I wouldn't say saint, but I would say that OP is in the right not to be punishing the daughter for having a crush and learning foreign languages.
Yeah. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Did you hear about the math student who's afraid of negative numbers?
I did. It's because they were too radical, and anytime that they approached a negative number, everything became imaginary for them. And so it was just a horrible, horrible curse. It's like Midas's touch, but for negative numbers. And not a good time.
Was this student a square root?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
What did I say? I thought I said square root.
No, you said it was a student. I don't think you ever specified what you were talking about.
Oh, yeah, they had like the magical square root touch, so I don't know.
He'll stop at nothing to avoid them.
Oh. Interesting. And I have Mega Mint. And folks, today is a very special day. It's imaginary number day. So go find yourself some imaginary numbers or just write an I or something like that. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday, Junior.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on child labor.
It's not exploitative to have children help with simple tasks that they are enjoying.
Yeah. But thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.